Awesome. And we are live. Welcome everyone to this 9x Live workshop on vibe coding business apps with Zite. What we have in store for today, it's going to be quite a fast-paced, intense, but hopefully very, very valuable 60-minute session. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction, but it'll be very quick, I promise, and then we'll hand it over to the main event, what you're all here for a live build with Zite. So for those of you who do not know us yet, a quick introduction. So we're 9x. You can find us at go9x.com. Basically, we're building a one-stop shop to learn AI and automation. We really believe that AI and automation are the most important skills to learn right now, especially as a business professional. And we're on a mission to basically bring you these skills on a silver platter. And we do these in a few different ways, starting with, first of all, our YouTube channel. So we publish every week free AI and automation tutorials, demos, as well as AI news. So check it out, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll drop a quick link in the chat if I can move my tabs around. Here we go. Then next up, we also do these through our live workshops, like the one that you are all currently in. We also run these each and every week. And actually next week, in case you're interested, Alex and I will be covering AI agents for beginners. Still the buzz topic, I would say, probably on par with vibe coding, AI agents. So if you maybe haven't set up your first AI agent yet, definitely join us next week. And again, I'll drop a quick link here in the chat for you to sign up again through our Luma page, and then finally through our courses. So we've structured our courses to really take you from beginner all the way to advanced. So we've got a free intro course, the AI Starter, which is for you to discover what's possible with AI as a business professional. Next up, our AI Operator, where you'll learn how to become productive with AI at work. This is really to show you the tips and tricks of using AI as your co-pilot. And finally, our most advanced program, the AI Builder, where you'll be able to learn to automate with AI by building AI-powered automations all the way up to AI agents. And in case you're interested or want to know if these courses are right for you, I'll leave a little QR code on the screen for 30 seconds if you want to book a 15-minute call with us. And while I leave this one on the screen, what I will also answer probably the question that I get asked 50 times per live session in the chat. Yes, this meeting is being recorded and everyone will receive a copy of it in their email inbox tomorrow. But that is no reason why you should stop now and stop paying attention and stop listening, because it's about to get even more interesting with my shameless plug out the way as I welcome our special guest for today, Dominic from Zite. I'm very, very excited to have Dominic from Fillout and Zite. I should say, I've been let's say a user from the very early days of Fillout. I think I was on the wait list and got early access, and it's an amazing tool. And when I heard these guys are building another product, I've been very excited to check it out and follow their journey. So Dominic, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Nice. Before you jump over and share your screen, I have one question. Why on earth, after starting one amazing product, Fillout, did you think one product isn't enough and we need to build another one?
We like to keep busy. So, but yeah, excited to chat a lot more about it.
Amazing. So yeah, Dominic, feel free to take over and share your screen. While you're doing that, I'll also let everyone know, please, while Dominic is in the midst of his live build, if you do have any questions either about Zite in general or what he's currently showing, please leave them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as we go, and then I'll raise any questions to Dominic.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Jan. This is our first online workshop that we've done for Zite, so I'm particularly excited. And I'll be talking through what Zite actually is and jumping into some live demos very quickly. But first, I'll just walk through like a couple quick slides just to give you a high-level overview of what Zite is and what you can use it for. So as Jan mentioned, Zite is from the team at Fillout. So we've been building no-code software for almost 4 years now. And roughly a year ago, we started getting really excited about this idea of bringing the best of no code, so the determinism and security that you get from all those types of tools and products. And also meeting it with these new technologies that exist now, particularly these LLMs that are really, really good at generating code, and seeing what we could do to get the best of both worlds. And so that's what we aim to do with Zite. And Zite specifically is built for building business software. We have a built-in database, workflows, login, authentication, all built in, and I'll be showing all of that in the live build. The other piece that makes Zite unique is that we have a really big focus on third-party integrations. We have native integrations with Airtable, with Google Sheets, and with Fillout as well. And our goal with these integrations is to make it as easy to use as a point-and-click solution. So you don't need to know how to use environment variables and APIs. You can just connect to the integration, and we do a lot of work under the hood to make the integration work well. And there's a lot more that we have on our roadmap as well for that. Then the next question is, okay, like, what can you actually build with Zite? There are a couple use cases that we've seen some early success on, and that folks are building. So one example is like portals. So if you're building any sort of software where you want to share it with external parties, that's actually one of the examples I'll be building today. We also have seen a lot of folks build like websites, marketing pages, either one-off pages or even larger websites as well. Internal apps is a place where Zite shines as well. Dynamic calculators, custom web applications, and dashboards are other examples. But without further ado, I want to jump into the demo since that is the exciting part. And then, as Jan said, please just drop any questions as they come up in the chat, and then we'll answer those to keep things interactive. So first, just to give you a little bit of context of what I'm gonna build during this section. So with Zite, in the next coming weeks, we want to launch a certification program for agencies and consultants to get certified and be able to be showcased on our website, and also get a couple other perks that we're offering as part of this certification program. And so as part of this, I'm going to build two different apps. The first app is the website that actually will showcase all of these certified partners. So that's the one that I'll build first. And then the other one is the actual portal. We want to have an easy place where partners can go in, they can update information about their business, let's say their logo changes, or if they want to, if they created a piece of content around Zite, they can submit it to us for us to help amplify it. So that'll be more of the portal side, but I'll start first with the directory. So the first thing you'll notice, which is quite different to a lot of like no-code builders, is that everything is chat-based for the most part. So in this case, I'm going to make a directory for Zite, which showcases our certified partners, and we're going to match the Zite branding. So let's kick that off here. And while this builds, I'll give you a quick tour of the actual builder. So on the left-hand side over here, this is the chat interface that you use to actually interact with the app. Up here we have the different tabs. So the app this is like the front end of the application. So the part that your customers and users will see once that's built. This is one of the more unique parts of Zite, which is how we handle the back end. So instead of just generating a bunch of code with an LLM, we generate these workflows, which allows you to see exactly how your application interacts with the data that you're building with. So this is when I was referring to before of like taking the best of no-code tools and also the best of the new kind of wave of like AI app builders. We view it, the visibility and being able to see like, what is the workflow actually doing, being able to make changes to it, as opposed to just having kind of some raw code that, you might not understand what it's doing or it's you don't know how it's interacting with the different databases that you have there. I'm also just going to move the chat here at the top. Cool. And the next piece is the database. So in this case, I created this database ahead of time to actually just have this like ready to go. But basically, we have two tables here. So we have one table, which are like the point of contacts. So these are going to be all the people that can actually like log into the portal when I build the portal. And then this over here, these are all the different partners that we're going to showcase in the directory. So you can see like right now Zite is building up the partner directory. So it's going to pull from these different from this database and show this here. The database here, so we could have also used an external database like Airtable or Google Sheets. The experience would have been like pretty similar in terms of the setup. You connect your integration, and then you're off to the races. The built-in database here has a lot of features, and we're also adding kind of a lot more as we go along. But you can upload files, you can add custom fields, you can do like lookups. There's a bunch of like built-in validation here as well. So you can add different like single select fields, multiple fields. You can also link records together. So in this case, I have a list of partners, and then for each partner, I have a point of contact. So this is similar to like a CRM where you would have like companies and specific contacts at the company, and you can see each one of these is linked to the partner over here. Um, so okay, let's take a look at what Zite built here. So the first thing that we can see, it is pulling all the live data, which is great. And we can see over here the workflow that it built. So in this case, it's a pretty simple workflow. This is getting called by Zite to actually load up the app. And then it's fetching from our partners table, all the partners, and it's fetching all of them. And then it is displaying those in the app. So in this case, we know exactly the rights to the data that we're giving when we publish the app. This app won't be able to create records. It won't be able to update records. It won't be able to delete records. The only thing that it'll be able to do interacting with our database is fetching the partners, which is what we want for a directory. And then it looks like it built these filters. Let's make sure those are working okay. So this is based off of this expertise column that I have set up here. So these specific tags, it looks like that is working as I would want it to. And then if I want to make a change, there are a few ways to go about it. So one is you can just chat with the interface down here to make a change. The other is that for certain types of edits, particularly like stylistic ones, you can actually use our like selective edit feature here. So let's say here we want to say like, I want to say like Zite partner directory. And then maybe we want this to be underlined. And so for these types of changes, you don't need to actually use the AI. It'll just make them right away here without need to change that. And on the left-hand side, you can view all the changes as it's making them. All right, that's looking pretty good.
Dominic, on the
Yes.
database, we have a couple of questions. First of all, from Aldo from Italy, asking, is it possible to import fields and values from a CSV or Excel directly into a Zite database?
It is as of yesterday. So we just released a
Nice.
bunch of new features to allow this. So now when you press plus over here, you can import from a CSV, from Airtable, from Google Sheet. And then when you create a new database, it'll also give you that option as well. And then you can even import into an existing table. So if I have this table here, this is my first time trying this feature in production, actually. So it's
Nice.
basically, you'll import the feature here, and then once you do that, it'll give you the option to map. So it'll try its best to map everything based on the CSV and the different columns that you have in the table. But if it gets anything wrong, you can just adjust those. So there's an interface to do that.
Perfect. And I noticed with your initial prompt to kick off this build, it was quite a, like, let's say, simple prompt and like very short. Is that sort of a best practice that you found? Like you didn't add in long descriptions about how it should look like or the colors or things like that, but rather just like keep it simple and rather let Zite, the Zite magic take care of the rest, or what would you recommend there?
Yeah, we found both can work. I think I kept it simple mostly so that you all wouldn't have to read like a long description, but a longer description can work great. Another tip that I found to work well is like uploading images. So in this case, if I wanted to match the brand more closely, like I'll upload the site logo and say like, and make the styling match the site brand. Oh, the Zoom stuff is getting in the way. Okay, there we go. And so we'll let that work here in the background. But I
Yep.
found also that giving it screenshots of even parts of the app as well. This is something we're actually considering building into the product. So giving Zite the ability to take a screenshot of your app. But since we don't have that yet, I often take like screenshots of particular parts of the app, like for instance, the header, and say like, can you style this in a different way? Or so giving it that context is I found to be quite helpful. And then a couple other things to note here as well while it's working. But, one thing to note is that each time you send a message, it'll sync to your data source. So if you make any changes, let's say you're working with like Airtable and you add a new table and some new columns, Zite pulls that information in automatically each time. And so it's automatically aware of like any new fields or even if you've removed fields. And because it sees that the fields are removed, it'll then go and make changes in the app to make sure that the app keeps working with the new schema. The other piece as well that we can look at while this finishes is there's also a version history that you can see here. So this will show you like all of the past versions that you have. Obviously, AI and LLMs are not perfect. Sometimes it'll misinterpret what you're trying to get it to do. Sometimes it'll just not do what you're actually looking for. And so this gives you a really easy way to view the past versions of the app that you had, and then if you want to just return to an older version, you can just press restore and that'll restore everything, including if you like removed an integration, it'll add it back, and etc. So let's see now what it did. Oh, I think actually by going to the history, I canceled this, which is unfortunate, but let's try that again. Any other questions I can answer in the meantime?
Maybe while that's going, a couple of people asking in terms of the performance. So if like, because here you're obviously building a directory, but for a website use case, is there sort of some SEO best practices and like website efficiency built in, or is it really meant for more internal tools, things behind a login, rather than using Zite to build out your website for SEO? Like let's say an SEO optimized website.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll showcase a couple features that we have built in for SEO. So I will answer that one. Actually, maybe we can take a look at the like partner portal piece, and I'll show that on here. So this is while the directory keeps working over here. The I built like an initial app last night, which basically allows you to log in to the app. So this uses our native login feature. It's using the same database, so it's connected to the same database I was showing before. And to answer the SEO question, we have this link settings option over here. This allows you to set information like the title, the meta description. Both of those are used in SEO. In terms of the performance of the site itself, we spend a lot of time just making sure that the HTML that's served will load as fast as possible. And so if you have an app that is built with like static content, it should load very quickly and that should perform well with SEO. If you're making like dynamic content that's pulled from an integration, that's something where the content itself is not baked into the HTML ahead of time, so
Yeah.
it's pulled live when you actually open up the app. So in that case, that probably would not work currently as well as if you baked all of that information into the app ahead of time. But that's something that we've been thinking about and thinking about what we can do to improve there. Um, yeah, so in this case, looks like it really went into the yellow theme. That's one of the pros or the lovely parts of having yellow as the primary color for Zite and Fillout. But yeah, basically you can also change all of this using like selective edits, for instance. So let's say we actually do not want the yellow here. Um, or let's say we want to change like these colors here. So we might change this to be black to contrast better. And then one tip I've also found quite useful is you'll notice when the page is actually loading, right now it's just like loading partners. If you ask it to create a better loading state, using skeletons. So a skeleton is it'll look at what the shape of the page will look like after you actually have after you've loaded in the data, and then it'll create some nicer loading states here. So I'll show that once it finishes loading.
And maybe while that one's loading, this is a question that we've had multiple times in the chat already. Do you have a couple of words on how we can think about Zite compared to the, like, let's say now it's almost weird to call them the traditional vibe coding platforms like Replit, Bolt, Lovable. How does Zite compare? Like a lot of people are asking more in terms of performance. So what are the good things in Zite compared to those? Maybe what are the things where they might have some advantages?
Yeah, I mean, those are all great tools. I think like we are really spending all of our time making Zite a as great a possible tool specifically for building like business applications.
Yeah,
So I always tell people like, if you want to build like your own like SaaS app like DocuSign or something like that, Zite is not the best tool, candidly, for that. If you want to build like business applications that are actually going to go into production, like that's what we're really focused on helping folks to build, especially if you're connecting to like third-party sources like Airtable, Salesforce, which we're releasing soon. So we're much more focused on those like production apps that are um, not necessarily you're not necessarily trying to build like an entire business, but you're trying to build like an app that is useful either as like an internal app or something that you're sharing with partners. Um, we also, I think, have more of a focus on the no code piece. So if the workflows is a good example of this. So like if you're not a developer and you want to know exactly what the app is doing and how it's interacting with your data, I think that's somewhere where we spend a lot of time on. Um, and then yeah, I mean, you can use Zite for building like fast prototypes and for like testing new features and that type of thing. But I think that's something that you can do with a lot of the vibe coding tools that exist out there. So the place where we are shining is having the built-in database, the built-in login and authentication, and then we also have a lot more in the works to allow you to understand how your data is actually like exposed through the application.
very cool. And on the database piece, there are some questions there as well. Let me know if we can take these now, or otherwise keep going with the build. But do you plan to in the future have also a Supabase integration? Also, some people are like asking, is the database in Zite similar to using Supabase?
Yeah, so the database is SQL based under the hood, which means that it's like very performant and comparable to using something like Postgres under the hood. We are going to have a SQL integration, which will work with Supabase and a lot of
Nice.
other types of databases as well.
Perfect. And then in terms of like a building decision, when should people be using an internal data, like a Zite database versus like an external integration?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the use case and also where your data is. So a lot of folks have, you're running, let's say you have a CRM that's built in Salesforce, or you're running like an applicant tracking system in Airtable. Like those are cases where it's a great idea to connect with your existing integration. We're not saying like, oh, you should try and migrate to Zite. Like you should build apps on top of where your data actually lives. Um, I think if you have like a net new use case where it's something where the or maybe you're not using one of these other tools, like the built-in database can work great for that. There are some things that we just have more control over with the built-in database. Like one of the examples is performance and rate limits, which is part of the reason that we built the built-in database in the first place. Since you can have, because the database within Zite is Postgres based, we get like much higher rate limits and the performance is much better, especially if you're dealing with high amounts of data than relying on like a third-party API. Um, but yeah, I think there are use cases for both. We have customers that will use like Zite for some cases, and then they'll use third-party integrations for others. So our goal is to make it work very well with both.
Very good to hear. Nice.
Yeah, so next up, I'll show a little bit of the kind of portal side of things. So, this is like more sort of a directory. We're exposing the data within this partners table to everyone. There's no login or anything. For when you're building a portal, you obviously really want to control what is the data that you're exposing and how are people interacting with it. Like I mentioned, I built this kind of portal ahead of time. I also customized the link, so you can customize the link that is sent to. These are those SEO settings that I showed before. Um, and when we actually go here and press like sign in, we'll be prompted. I think here I already logged in ahead of time. But if you're not logged in, you'll be prompted to sign in. In this case, you can manage all of the login settings over here. So I've configured this, and this is not vibe coded. Like this is again one of those cases where we think that no code has gotten things really right, which is like you should be able for authentication, you want to control that. You want to control exactly like who is allowed to log into the application. Are people able to sign up or not? In this case, to start with our partner program, we'll make it invite only. Eventually, we'll allow people to sign up and go through a certification process. Um, the other piece that is unique to how we think about authentication is we really treat the database that you're connected to as the source of truth. So in this case, I am using that database I showed before. So you can see the email that's being used when you log in is the email of the point of contact. So I can show that over here. And so this email, I have this like demo account over here, which is what is allowing me to actually log into the account. And this is really helpful with third-party applications in particular. So if you're using something like Airtable or Salesforce, you can control who is able to log in just directly from Airtable. There's no like two sources of truth. Everything kind of works out of the box there. And I'll showcase a couple of pieces here. So in this case, once I log in, I want to allow people to edit information about their company. So if I click edit here, I can update my company logo. I'll change this to like demo agency. Uh, we actually added support for file uploads natively out of the box yesterday. So that is also a new feature that's now available. And that's another example where we just want to make that as easy as possible. Like Zite under the hood handles uploading the file and storing it within like secure storage, and then it's then able to be used within the workflows. And so in this case, when I actually like uploaded that logo just now, you'll see that that's automatically updated down here. So it's able to just like pull that file that you uploaded and then put it into the database. And
And
then
Dominic, just while you're on that, because it was a question that came up. So there you showed like editing the data in the database through the app that was built. Is it also
Mhm.
possible to edit the data directly in the database view if you're like the app owner or the builder?
Yeah, for sure. So you can also do that. So if I change this back to test agency,
And that's
um,
as simple as updating an Airtable field or a Google Sheet cell. It's exactly the same, right?
exactly. And then, so now when I sign in here, yeah, so now that's automatically updated here. And we can see like which information it's actually pulling. So in the profile, I have this get partner profile workflow. So this is finding the existing point of contact record based on that email field. This is the email field of the person who's logged in. And then it has a bit of branching logic here, depending on if it finds that record or not. And then for updating the record, here it finds initially that record, and then it's allowing me to update the point of contact. And then it's also allowing me to update the um, the partner as well. So I think that's that section on the right over here. So I can update, and I'm updating two different types of records here that are linked to each other. So I have the partners and the point of contact that I'm logging in as.
And what's your usual flow here, Dominic? Are you sort of just using the prompting at the beginning to get like a good head start, and then afterwards you tend to like tinker in the workflows or in the UI, or it's still just as efficient to then like sort of continue prompting and say, hey, can you add a new step to this workflow and explain in plain English what step you want to add?
Yeah, so you can definitely keep chatting with it over here. So for instance, like one thing I might want to do is once you're actually logged in, I want to allow our partners to submit content that they've created about Zite so that we can help amplify it. In this case, I could use the built-in database and build the form with Zite, or you could use, in this case, we have a form for this already in Fillout. So I will connect. to that form here. And so this is just like a pretty simple form. It sends a Slack notification to us when the form is submitted. And then I'll say like when the user is logged in, show this form so that it can submit content to be amplified. And then this is automatically connected to my Fillout account. It's the same as the Zite account under the hood. And Zite can decide various ways to embed the form. We also have integrations coming soon with other form builders, also like Calendly and various like scheduling tools as well. And in general, like I think for this type of use case, this could have been built pretty easily with Zite. So I could have had the database added another column that would have collected the information there, added a workflow that actually sends like a Slack notification. But sometimes for more complicated forms, it's better to use like, something deterministic like fill out, and then you can just embed it into the portal so that you have kind of full control of that there.
And on the prompting side, we had a question: is only are you only able to, like, it was two questions on the topic of like multi-language. So you also are able to prompt in other languages, and the same way, are you able to support multiple languages inside a Zite app?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, so I guess there's two parts to that. One is like
Yeah,
actually the building experience. The building experience works well in any language. That's not like any magic that we're doing under the hood. That's the magic of the LLMs.
yeah,
Um, in terms of the apps being built in multiple languages, that's not something that would come out of the box. I'm
gotcha.
pretty confident you could make it work. But yeah, it's not like an out of the box feature that we have there. And then here, so when you're in demo mode, it'll allow you to like choose an email address to log into just to make it easier to test the app. Let's see how it's embedded that form. So in this case, it just embedded the form like this. You could then like chat with it and say, oh, I want it to be more of like a pop-up. Like let's the instead.
And while that's going, we also had a question here, which I guess it sort of comes down. We really want to get some of the like these best practices for building. Do we have to be concerned about like token usage when building? Because I guess it's an AI powering this thing, and that obviously uses tokens. And do we have sort of a limit in terms of how many tokens we can use when chatting with this the app builder?
Yeah, so when you make changes using the AI on the left, those do use tokens, and then when you make edits using like selective edits over here, or if you're editing like workflows directly, those do not use tokens. We're releasing, I think, in the settings page, you can already see like your token usage and the different like pricing plans that we have, but we have a bunch of work that we're doing at the moment to make it easier to understand like how many tokens have been used. Um, but yeah, our goal there, like, I mean, if we want to think about like sort of the longer term, like our hope and I think what will happen is the cost of tokens is just going to decrease over
Yeah.
time, and these LLMs are going to get faster and faster. And those we price the tokens pretty much exactly at break even, if anything, like slightly less than break even currently, because we want people to build and we want people to build like working apps. So our goal there is decrease the cost of tokens over time and just make it easier and easier for folks to build.
Right, and that this last one is like super, just how it just nailed it straight away. That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So it has now the form as like a pop-up over here. And yeah, so this is kind of one of the places where you would definitely want to use the chat interface for building the app. Um, and then these are the login settings that I mentioned over here. You can also view the users that are linked to in the database, in theory. Try refreshing this. All right, well, I don't know why that's not loading, but the database is the same as the database that we have over here. So these are the users that are able to log in, which are the same as the users that we show in the login tab over here. Any other questions that have come up?
Just like a bunch on, but you sort of touched on it there with regards to pricing. So right now, obviously, like Zite is a part of Fillout. You mentioned something that you're currently working on what that looks like. So what's the current pricing now that people need to be aware of, and maybe yeah, where's it going?
Yeah, so we currently the pricing is shown like in the settings page. So if you go over here under the Zite tab, you can view the different pricing plans. So the default is like 2x. It's all relative to the number of tokens that we give on this tier over here. And then if you scroll to the bottom, if I'll move the Zoom stuff out of the way, here you can see the amount of usage that you've used so far. So I've sent like 48 messages today. So there's a per day limit, and then there's also like a monthly limit. In practice, the monthly limit is usually going to be the one that is like the limiting factor, and so if you upgrade to like 4x, then you'll receive like 2x as many as you did on the 2x plan. But yeah, like I mentioned, we're doing a bunch of work now to just make it easier to understand the pricing, and then also understand like where the pricing is without having to log into Zite.
Gotcha. And I guess in the case of if someone's just sort of has one idea that they want to bring to life, it's sort of that people would have the flexibility to go on a higher plan while they're building. And then when they're happy with it, if they just want to then host it and don't need to make too many changes, they can then reduce that pricing. Is that how it would work?
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's like where the pricing gets really exciting for us, which is like we want this to be a no-brainer versus a lot of the other ways that you could, build this type of software. The hosting cost essentially is essentially free. We have the $0 plan, which would have like the Zite branding on it, or the $19 a month plan, which allows you to have like unlimited apps that are hosted. We also don't limit the number of users either that you can have in the apps. So it's really like currently the main like price point is basically the tokens that are used to build the apps. And then I think there are a few other features like custom domains, et cetera, that we charge for as well. But our goal is to make it so that you can build like 100 different apps on here, and then the hosting cost is essentially free.
Yeah, it's super generous.
Yeah, so one other piece I touched on like briefly, but that we can take a look at here is like the version history. So particularly once you start having like larger apps, this starts to become very useful. So here you can see like the different changes that I made as I was building this app. And then you can just like roll back to a prior version if you want to. And let's see, what else can we touch on? The other integrations that we have natively, so I mentioned this a little bit, but we have Airtable out of the box. We have Slack, so if you want to send like a notification when a form is submitted. We also have an open AI integration. This is not for the actual like chat LLM itself. This is if you want to build an app that actually calls the OpenAI APIs. So some examples we've seen of this are like people building like dynamic calculators, or if you want to do like lead routing. You can have an app where you intake some sort of data and then you call an LLM, or if you can also like generate images from it. So we've seen folks, especially on like the marketing front, build some pretty interesting apps there where it's like essentially you're building like software as marketing content, and you can build some cool like SEO tools and different calculators using that, or also for like lead routing and more like internal applications as well.
I think
Um,
it's a good leads into a good question we had from the chat because you mentioned there on the idea of like marketing assets and calculators. So also Zite apps can be embedded, right, on website. You don't need to have a full page. You can also embed these little apps.
Exactly, yeah. So when you publish the app here, so in this case, we're going to make it available to anyone. And we have this embed section over here. So this lets you see exactly like how you want to embed it. So you can embed it as like a pop-up. So when you click the pop-up or the get started button, then it'll open up the app that you've built. And then you just copy this code at the bottom and then paste it into, if you're using like a website builder like Squarespace or Wix, you can just paste that in there. or pretty much most sites now support like just embedding code, and it's the same type of embeds that we use for fill out, and we see people embed like fill out forms all over the place.
Yeah, awesome.
There's also, yeah, a couple options to show here as well. So we have QR codes, so you can like create a QR code that'll open up the app. And then coming very soon, we have a marketplace that we're releasing where you'll be able to build these. You'll be able to put the apps that you build on the marketplace, including the databases and that are connected to them. And we're really excited about that. I think it's like there's this opportunity to build basically like kind of a marketplace for business software where you can build these apps that are fully functional. They're not just like templates that you clone and they don't work, but they like solve some sort of problem for your business. You can either connect them to your own database or they come with a database out of the box. So we're really excited for what that'll unlock.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I guess then you can basically have a really great starting point, and then you also use the AI chat on the left to customize it that little bit because every business operation or process is slightly different, right? And so we're seeing less and less of this one size fits all, but it's so good to have a template that you can just use to get started quickly because probably 90% of partner directories have these same features, but maybe you need that 1% that others don't have.
100%. Yeah. Maybe one more feature I'll show here specifically related to login. Which is, so let me log out here to show this feature. So yeah, once you have the login page open, you can actually make selective edits specifically on the login page. Um, and you can like upload a logo, for example. You can change like the colors, the different primary colors, etc. And our goal over time is to allow you to make like more and more types of edits using this kind of no code interface. And so I think we'll see a lot more of that as we go along. Any other questions or anything that came up in the chat?
Well, something we haven't seen yet next to the edit thing is I see the little code symbols. Someone was asking like, is it locked in or is it possible to like export a Zite app, the code of a Zite app? Because that's what's happening right under the hood is when you're using the AI chat, code is being written, which is then creating your app. Is that right?
Yeah, so it is so yeah, if you click the code here, you can see the code that's being generated for the front end code. So front end means everything that's visible to you in the app itself. The workflows in the back end are not shown there. So this is generated via they're like the same workflows that you can build actually like within Fillout. Um, so these workflows do not. So because it's not just code, basically, that's why we haven't built like an export function yet. Like our goal is to make the apps that you build like free or as cheap as possible to host on site. And so if you want to see the raw code that it's building, you can even make changes here as well. And so let's say I wanted to change this here, then there's a save button, and so you can just change that directly. But so far we don't have like an easy way to export the apps yet.
Gotcha. And with regards to some people asking about being able to in the future publish Zite apps on mobile, obviously, as you can see there, it's very mobile friendly, but right now it's all web applications. Is that right?
Yeah, so yeah, you can preview. So we have this preview here for being able to see like what your app looks like on different screen sizes. We don't have a way yet of publishing it as like a mobile app on the App Store. That's something, it's not on our like near-term roadmap, but it's something we might consider down the line.
Perfect. I don't think there's any, like I've got plenty more questions in the tank, but have you got something else to show us?
Yeah, maybe well, I'll just kind of show one or two like final slides here, but the other piece is in terms of like enterprise security. So this is something, we take very seriously at Fillout, and it is also some place where we think that Zite can really shine. If you're building apps that are built on top of sensitive data, you want to know exactly how the data is being used, what data you're exposing access to. You can already do that with the workflows that we build. Every workflow when you build an authenticated app, so in this case, the app that I built is set to only grant access to these folks. That means that only those people will be able to call the workflows. You can see exactly how the data is being used. And because of that, we think that there's a lot of potential for building like enterprise applications within Zite. We have 100,000 plus teams that are already building software with Fillout, including many like well-known enterprises. And we're excited to double down on this and continue building features that just make it easier to build production software with Zite. And yeah, you can try it at Zite.com. It's free to sign up. We have a free tier. You get a certain number of credits on the free tier, and we're always working on seeing like how we can make the free tier allow you to build more. So stay tuned on that front. And then we are also hiring. So if you work in engineering, support, marketing, or sales, we're hiring across the board. So please reach out.
Perfect. Really cool. That a lot of people very excited about the free tier that they can jump in and get started. In terms of the actual data that apps will be built on, are there any limitations right now? Obviously, like if you're using external sources like Airtable, there's probably some API limitations, but can this really support, or like what are some best practices if we need to build an app based on top of a database that has maybe thousands or tens of thousands of rows of data?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it really depends on the use case. So different types of integrations have different limits. So for instance, I think Airtable's rate limits are like 5 requests per second. If you're building certain types of apps, that's like totally fine. And for instance, like for the portal that I was showing, I think that would work really well on something like Airtable because you're only making it's the number of users that you have on the application, like the number of certified partners you have is not going to be like a massive number. And
Yeah.
then each person is not making that many requests, right? They're like logging in, they're updating some information, et cetera. So I think that type of use case would work well. If you're building something that is going to have either like a lot of rows of data or you're just going to be having like many different users using the app at once, or you're going to be making like a lot of requests at once. That's probably where I would lean towards either using the native Zite database or once we release the SQL integrations. I think that's where I would kind of suggest folks that use those two.
Got it. And in the using the Zite native database, is there the possibility to use a make, Zapier, or N8N to be pushing data into that database?
Not yet, but very soon. We have the API is actually already live, but we're releasing the docs for that later this week, and then we're building integrations with all three of those platforms for the Zite database.
Super cool. A couple of questions with regards to versioning, because you mentioned there that you can see the previous versions. Is it also
Mhm.
possible that you can restore? Because as you said, sometimes you might want to change one small thing. This is often the critique of vibe coding, that you just want to like change a column, change a row, or change something like really superficial, and then all of a sudden the whole back end is changing. So how can we roll back previous versions?
Yeah, for sure. So you can just if you go to the history here, let's say I want to go back to, I don't love the yellow background that it added here, so let's go back to the version that did not have that. Yeah, so let's say I wanted to go back to this version, you just press restore and then it'll rebuild the app in that state. And then also reset the chat as well. So now you're back here.
Perfect. And maybe since it is where obviously what you guys have created is this whole new category of vibe coding and no coding together. But do you have any sort of like best practices, or you really like people should just start experimenting and trying it out? Or what are the best practices to get that production ready app up and running as fast as possible?
Yeah, I think I mean, trying it out, I think is the best way. As with building like any type of software, understanding what the requirements are, like what you're trying to build. One of the nice things now with like vibe coding in general is that it's easier to iterate on ideas. So, I could like duplicate this app here and then like test out some new features on a different version if I wanted to. But as always, like just understanding what is the problem that you're trying to solve, And then based on that, making the decision of, oh, I should use like this type of database or this one, or like here's where my data currently lives. And then, yeah, just playing around with it. We've been pretty much every week we're shipping like a lot of improvements to Zite, and it's getting better and better. There are a lot of places that we want to improve, and we think it'll get a lot better over time. So yeah, keep playing around with it. If you tried Zite 2 months ago, I'd encourage you to try it again. And yeah, we're also going to be posting as we release lots of new updates.
Awesome. We've obviously seen here like the real like portal experience when it comes to maybe we also have like a bunch of people in the chat that are thinking about like building projects for clients. So there's a couple of questions around that. First of all, is there any ability to create dashboards if maybe you want to use this to create any sort of reporting, maybe like project management portals and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a great use case. We're also thinking about how we can make those easier to build. So, please reach out if you're building any sort of like dashboards or analytics. I think like where where Zite really shines today is like, if you want to build something that is custom, but also you want it to be a production app that actually works and you're able to like send out and not just a prototype. I think that's where like uh, that's where these different types of like AI vibe coding tools can really help because you're not limited by what the builder can actually do. And if it doesn't have like a certain component, et cetera. I think for building like a simple portal, currently there are like pros and cons to each. But over time, we're also confident that like the LLMs will get faster. You'll be able to iterate much more quickly. And there's a lot that we can do on our side to uh, to make uh, to make the building experience better. So we're really excited about that.
Nice, very cool. And we have a question from Kritya in the chat. Looks like she's looking to connect to an internal CRM via MCP. Is that something that you're looking at adding as well? I guess whenever you're building something like this, the number one request you probably get are new integrations. Maybe specifically on the question of MCP connecting to an internal CRM, but then also I would be super interested is how do you go and actually make those decisions about what integrations you add next?
Yeah, I mean, with Site, the approach we've taken so far is like integrations are really important to us, and we want to make sure that the ones that we release work really well. So that's why so far we've gone for depth as opposed to breadth.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of integrations that we want to add, as you can see from our long list of coming soon integrations. These are all ones that we've received requests for and want to release soon. But so far, we've been just focused on making sure it works really well for Airtable and Google Sheets and the Zite database. And then the ones that we'll be releasing next are Salesforce and then also some of the other CRMs, as well as like SQL-based databases. Um, but yeah, in terms of MCP specifically, we don't have like a native MCP integration. Um, but we will be adding a webhook integration, which will allow you to call like any arbitrary REST API. So I'm really excited for what that'll unlock.
Yeah, and I suppose for the people in the chat that maybe the like not so technical users, as soon as you release that Zite API to actually push data into the Zite database, then you could of course use tools like Make, Zapier, N8N to pull data out of any tool that you're using, even if it doesn't have a Zite integration yet, and basically then push that into the Zite database.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. A question from John, more of a personal one. How many hours a week are you working, Dom?
Um, I work quite a bit, but it's just like we have so much fun building Zite and Fillout. I think one of my favorite parts is just seeing all the things that people build with it, and we have pretty much every industry that I can think of, there's like some sort of use case for forms or custom software, and it's just like so fun to see people building like actual use cases and solving problems with that. And also like businesses that I never even knew like existed and seeing what they're able to do. So yeah, I guess that's sort of dodging your question, but I love working and
Lots.
I love working on site and fill out. So.
Very cool. One question that we did have earlier, and it did come back again, and I guess it ties into what you mentioned that people are really getting creative with what they're building. Is there the possibility to use support any sort of payment methods within Zite. So like if for whatever reason you wanted to create an app and then you have some like material behind a paywall, could you integrate with Stripe, PayPal, or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have it yet, but we're working actively on a Stripe integration. With For folks who are familiar with Fillout, we have a payment integration there that's pretty advanced. You can do like one-time payments, discount codes, subscriptions, like donations, and there are a lot of like settings that you can change there. And our goal is to make the Zite integration with Stripe, just as powerful and easy to use. Um, but yeah, it's possible. You might be able to get Zite to do it currently if you asked it to. I think I've seen a few people succeed at doing this so far, where you can use like the Stripe like embeds, and you can always link out to like a Stripe. Stripe has like Stripe link, and you can link
Or
out.
even if you're embedding a fill out form
Yeah, or you
potentially,
could.
which has that,
Or
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, our
yeah.
intention is to build a native Stripe integration. And then, yeah, from there, I think that'll probably be the main payment solution that we support for a while. But, through Stripe, I think Stripe even has like a PayPal integration now. So you can like enable lots of different payment methods within Stripe.
Perfect. Um, Let me just read a couple more questions. I think more. There's a lot of the chat's really been helpful today. A lot of people answering questions before I can even raise them, which is nice, guys. Any last questions for Dominic? Just a lot of people saying thanks a lot and that it was a great session. So I think we've pretty much nailed it with regards to the time. Let me just see. So John's curious if it would be best to merge Zite and fill out.
It's a good question. We actually already merged them. So from a code base standpoint, at least. So if you're on the homepage dashboard, you can build like fill out forms, you can build apps. There's a surprising amount of like shared logic between the two, like all the integrations and like permissions and workspaces and all of that. So your fill out account is the same as your Zite account under the hood. The naming is something we're thinking a lot about. So we'll have some updates on that in the coming months.
Exciting. And on that one, so Rosson's asking if fill out forms are going to be also connected to Zite databases. So based on a form submission um, data or going directly into a Zite database.
Yes, they definitely will very soon.
You have a very long, how do you actually, well, how long is your product roadmap at the moment?
We have a lot in the works, but yeah, we have a great team, and we're also building on top of a lot of like open source libraries, and there's just we're really building like on top of the shoulders of giants. I like to say it's just like I think we do have like a phenomenal team, and we're able to move really fast, but there's also just like so much. I mean, the LLMs is like a prime example. Like, we're every improvement that Anthropic and OpenAI make to the LLMs like makes Site better, and so yeah, there's a long roadmap and a lot of stuff that we're excited to release in the coming months.
How are you choosing actually like a new model comes out? How do you have, is it like a strong testing that gets done in terms of picking the model that's behind the AI builder or like the AI chat that you have within Zite itself?
Yeah, I mean we always test the new models just because it's exciting to see like what types of new features they unlock. When GPT-5 was released, we were on the early access list for that, and then we were able to try it right away, which was really great. Um, so far, like what we found, which is interesting, is the main limitation is usually not the LLM itself. It's usually the context that you give to the LLM.
Yeah.
So for and a lot of that work lies on us, which is like, give the LLM the power to understand like the schema of the data that you're connecting to, give the ability to actually like see the app, eventually even like test the app and use the app itself. So to answer your question, we always test them out, and we want to give access to. We have a feature that lets you like choose the LLM, so you
Ah,
can choose
nice.
between like Sonnet and some of the OpenAI models. But I'd say we're spending like the majority of our time on how do we provide the right context to the LLMs as opposed to like the new LLMs.
Perfect. Um, then Jonathan's asking a couple of last minute questions. I think one or two more, and then we can wrap up.
Oh, I lost you there for a sec. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, yep, we're back, I think. John was asking what type of encryption is used for Zite's database.
Oh, yeah, I can follow up with some details there, but we use like TLS encryption. It's the same as what is on our like security page here. Um, but yeah, we have a bunch of details on that over here that I can share after the call.
Perfect. Yeah, and if you weren't in the call when Dominic shared it, also very a big focus of both Fillout and Zite is really making sure that these products are enterprise grade and enterprise ready. Perfect. Dominic, thank you so much. That was an action-packed presentation and demos. And yeah, like everyone, I think in the chat, I'm very excited to jump in and build something with Zite.
Thank you everyone for joining and all the great questions. This was a lot of fun.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.